Welcome. Well, you're at home with Jim and Joy, and you are an important part of our EWTN family. And Jim and I wish you all a blessed Advent. And we're so delighted that you have invited us into your home. Well, during our live show today, we want to hear from you. So we want you to give us a jingle at 1-800-221-9460. If you're calling and you're outside North America, you can reach us at area code 205-271-2980. And you can always send us an email, jimandjoy@ewtn.com. Well, today we have a great guest. His name is Brian Scarnecchia, and he is the officer for Society of Catholic Social Science. Sounds really heady, doesn't it? He's a professor of law at Ave Maria School of Law down in beautiful Naples, Florida. And you had the privilege of visiting there, right?
Yes, indeed. It's heady stuff, the social sciences. What does that mean? What's included there? What's the Catholic perspective, the Catholic contribution? But when you work it through, and Brian will do that for us, you see how it really touches down on earth, how it makes a difference in economics and in government, in life, marriage, the family. So it's going to be a great show. It's Advent, and so we always discuss the nativity of our Lord, the second coming of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, and the perpetual coming. And the Lord has come for Father Andrew Apostoli, who passed away yesterday morning. Franciscan Friars of the Renewal, co-founder of that great order, yoked in a special way with Father Benedict Rochelle in terms of their own spirituality, being part of that religious order. And now we trust yoked together in a death like Christ's. And we pray that they are experiencing the joy of being together before the face of God Himself. And Father Apostoli, just such a special human being. Sunday Night Prime, we all know him from there, 25 years approximately with EWTN in terms of that special relationship. We know that he made a video that we watched just recently, saying that he had cancer, asking for our prayers. He really understood that family sense, wanted to share his last months or weeks or days with all of us here, asked for our prayers. We prayed. We continue to pray for the repose of his blessed soul, any cleansing that he may need, and that he might know the fullness of the joy in Jesus Christ. But I think I met him once or twice, and my take on him when I came into his, he was just so absolutely humble, and so unassuming of himself or anything else. And I guess he would just say, why would I be anything? I mean, just all about Jesus. He had great eyes, these big eyes. And I looked at him and I thought, he's like an older cousin or an uncle of mine, but such a holy man and a prolific writer, right? 10 books that he wrote. He was ordained by Fulton Sheen, Archbishop Fulton Sheen. And of course, I think he was, one of the postulators, and maybe not the head one for the canonization of Fulton Sheen. So we give thanks for the precious life of this man. And just like Mother Angelica and godly people, they show you not only how to live, but how to die. And I didn't have any sense this man was fearing death. He just wanted to be all about the holiness of God. So we can go on and on about Father Andrew Apostoli. And I think his given name was, maybe it was Andrew Dominic. And I've never met a Dominic I didn't like.
That's true. That is true.
Is there anybody named Dominic that isn't sweet and kind and nice? So we thank God for his life, and let's continue to pray for the repose of his soul.
Well, and talking about sweet and kindness and goodness, I just wanted to show you this beautiful gift that we had a family contact the center and said, our pro-life center, and said, Joy, we want to do something for your moms, your expectant moms. What can we do? And so last year they came, the mom came with her 3 beautiful children. They decorate these beautiful boxes, they write on them, and on the inside of these boxes for 25 of our clients, because every Wednesday we have a class, it's called Earn While You Learn, and so the moms came in yesterday, and I was able to say, Christmas has come early to you and we want to bless you. And so inside every one of these beautiful boxes, and they were just surprised, they didn't know this was going to happen, they opened up and there's a special little decoration, beautiful, from their little children that did. This little envelope contains $50 cash that they just gave our clients. One of my clients is about to have a baby next week. She paid all the bills and she didn't have any gas money. She was like, Joy, this is going to fill my tank. Another one of my clients, she didn't have any food. She was like, this is going to be food money. This is going to be good. So they came they didn't want any, it was just beautiful. They came the day before, socks, every woman needs warm socks, and they put in chapstick and then some chocolate kisses. And the moms were just so blessed. It was so beautiful.
And you're just thinking about Advent and what you could do. And just to bless women that have chosen life, that had a conflict about whether or not they should carry this child, they've chosen that, and to bless them. Find your pro-life center, your pro-life crisis pregnancy center, pregnancy medical center. Go to optionline.org, put in your zip code, you can find one. Or do some other work of charity. What a great time for Advent to just bless in a special way those that need a little bit extra this precious season. Brian Scarnecchia is here with us, officer for the Society of the Catholic Social Sciences. Scientists, Society of Catholic Social Scientists, professor of law, Ave Maria. And really, this is what happens with the social sciences. It touches down in love God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, and love your neighbor as yourself. On these two commandments hang all the law and the prophets. Let's be about that. God bless you. Plenty more to come. Please don't go away.
Welcome back. Well, you're an important part of our EWTN family, and we would love to hear from you. So today, if you have a question for our guest, Brian Scarnecchia, we want you to give us a jingle right here during the live broadcast. 1-800-221-9460. If you're calling and you're outside North America, you can reach us at area code 205-271-2980. And you can always send us an email, jimandjoy@ewtn.com, and hopefully we'll use your question or your comment right here on the air. Well, we have an interesting show planned for you today with our guest, Brian Scarnecchia. But before we speak with Brian, we're going to go straight to Washington, D.C. to hear from Catherine Zeltner, who is the host of EWTN Pro-Life Weekly, doing a wonderful job. Catherine, what's the pro-life news for this week?
Hello from Washington, D.C., Jim and Joy. This week, a major pro-life story. The Department of Justice has launched a formal investigation into Planned Parenthood for its role in the alleged sale of baby body parts. We speak with Representative Diane Black, who is on the congressional panel investigating Planned Parenthood. For this week's call to action, a way for you all to get involved, good news. There is still time for Congress to pass the Conscience Protection Act. But pro-lifers, we need your voice. Go to prolifeweekly.com to tell Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell to include this pro-life legislation in the appropriations bill. That's prolifeweekly.com. And also tonight, a story I'm really looking forward to sharing. After years of prayer, a Virginia abortion clinic recently closed down and has now opened up as a health center for the uninsured. Truly pro-life. Don't miss it. I hope to see you all tonight on EWTN Pro-Life Weekly, Thursday at 10 p.m. Eastern, and again on Sunday morning at 10 a.m. Now, back to you at home.
Thank you, Catherine. Thank you for your great words and all the wisdom that you share with us in how ways that we can participate to make a difference. Well, right now I bring to you Mr. Brian Scarnecchia, and he is with the Society of Catholic Social Scientists. He is the professor of law at Ave Maria School of Law down in Naples, Florida. You could go to his website, catholicsocialscientists.org. Well, Brian, we want to welcome you to At Home with Jim and Joy, and we're so glad you're here.
It's an honor, Joy. Jim, thank you.
Well, good. Well, now, we did have you scheduled to come up another time. But you had weather issues.
Yeah, an act of God prevented it, and only that would have kept me from the show. The Hurricane Irma came through Florida and sort of disrupted flight arrangements.
Well, bless you. Well, tell our family at home a little bit about Brian.
Well, I started off being born in Youngstown, Ohio, and before it became part of the Rust Belt, it was still a flourishing steel mill town at that time.
And home of Boom Boom Mancini, the boxer.
You're right. You're right. Boom. Exactly. Yes.
Okay.
Good. Yeah. And my father was a physician. He's since passed away. My mother is 93, Elizabeth. She's watching us now from a nursing home with my wife, Victoria. I grew up there. Went to Catholic grade school, Immaculate Heart of Mary. Went to Austintown Fitch High School. Went to Youngstown State University. I majored in English. About that time, I was searching for truth, and I got off into the swamp, as C.S. Lewis called theosophy. So I ventured into pre-New Age thinking, came back a staunch Catholic through the example, inspiration, and I would hope intercession of the saints, in particular St. Francis and Our Lady. So when people say that the saints and Our Lady distract them for Christ, I go, well, I don't know my story. They brought me to Christ, you know, and so that's part of my conversion back to the faith. So that all happened during my college years as an undergrad. Then I went off to Catholic University of America, where with my newfound faith, I studied philosophy at the feet of some of the best.
Where was this again?
Catholic University of America, Dr. Sokolowski and Dr. Whipple, some of the best in Thomistic philosophy. Then I went off to Berkeley, California, where I studied with the Dominicans as a layperson at the Dominican School of Philosophy and Theology during the early pontificate of John Paul II. I can remember the day he was shot, and I came into the atrium of the Dominican school, and there all eyes were glued on a television set seeing. So that was the early years. It was there I met my wife, Victoria. We met at the Legion of Mary and at St. Joseph the Workman Parish in Berkeley, and we were married a year later. We moved back to Ohio. I completed my law degree at the University of Akron, and at that time I became involved again with Franciscan University of Steubenville, where I had taught previously as an adjunct, and yeah, that began my 20-year career with Franciscan University of Steubenville, where I was the director of the Legal Studies and Human Life Studies program and the chairman of the Department of Humanities and Catholic Culture for, I believe, 8 years. So and there in the course of time, we have 6 children, and now we have 9 grandchildren.
Praise the Lord.
That's
praise God. That's
yeah.
right. So it's been a wonderful time. I had the privilege of serving under Father Michael Scanlon at Franciscan University of Steubenville, and there's a lot of stories that circle around that iconic figure. Later, I was part of the thinking through of the initial design or concept of Ave Maria School of what became Ave Maria School of Law. For a while, there was talk of it being at Franciscan University when I was there. In 2008, I joined the teaching faculty at Ave Maria School of Law and transitioned with them to Florida, retired at Franciscan University of Steubenville, and now full-time employed in Naples, Florida at Ave Maria School of Law, where I teach jurisprudence, bioethics and law, Catholic social thought and law.
And it doesn't snow there, like in Youngstown, Ohio.
But you do get storms.
You're right. You're right. It's it leaves it's the best weather in the United States probably this time of the year. So y'all have to come down and shoot down there once in a while.
Yeah.
Well, so much of your life has been steeped in learning, and it's just interesting to read about the areas that you teach on. And for me, especially in the area of law, not much experience, but it says that you teach on jurisprudence, Catholic social thought, the law in bioethics, and law. Can you share the distinction between jurisprudence and teaching on law? I mean, some of us might say, I thought jurisprudence is law. What's jurisprudence in relationship to the flat-out law? What is it?
Very good. The jurisprudence is simply the philosophy of law. So often people think of law as the nuts and bolts. How do I get a conviction? How do I win? What are the elements of torts? What are the elements of contracts? The big picture, of course, the architecture of law is the philosophy of law. And you see that played out in Supreme Court decisions. You see reference to, for instance, in the recent opinion of that legalized same-sex marriage, Obergefell, In his dissent, Chief Justice Roberts mentions Mill's harm principle. What's Mill's harm principle? Well, that's jurisprudence. That's the philosophy of law informing the thinking of the justices as they decide whether there is harm to society by allowing gay couples to marry, same-sex couples to marry. What harm has it done to your marriage? With a very truncated understanding of harm. Mill's understanding of harm is very narrow. Under that definition of harm, well, maybe none. But under a more robust and really rational understanding of harm, such as Aquinas articulates in his jurisprudence, in his treatise on law, which we cover in our classes at Ave Maria School of Law, then harm would encompass the harm to heterosexual marriage that same-sex marriage visits upon it. There is harm.
Why? Now answer it.
Well, because
it's interesting to have both of those.
Because of the flourishing of the human person. What see, at the deep roots of the problems that we see in law, there is a confusion over what it is with the nature of the human person, or anthropology. If you think that there is an amorphous, completely malleable human nature that you somehow nail down through your specific choices, which is really the zeitgeist of our age now, the worldview of our age, well then there is no specific way that human nature flourishes. But if on the other hand you see human nature as a given, with certain things that we cannot not know, and certain orientations that we cannot focus on. For instance, whoever says, tell me a lie? No, everybody focuses on tell me the truth. Even liars want to know the truth. Even if they're suicidal, if they're dunked underwater, doesn't fight manically to come up. There's the need to survive. Who doesn't, even if we have substituted companion animals for children, still there's this need to nurture. And to somehow reproduce or invest ourselves and see ourselves in this. These are the things that define human nature, and law should further those basic inclinations and not frustrate them. And so, to further the inclination to flourish and to reproduce our own kind, how does same-sex marriage achieve that end? It can't. And yet, if you understand human nature is without any basic orientation, then you'd say, well, I still don't see why if it's emotionally satisfying. Well, what's wrong with that? So it's at the heart of the big conflicts in law. There's a crisis of anthropology, a crisis of the relationship of morals and law. And that's what we cover in jurisprudence.
Now, your students, do they come from all over the country, all over the world? Where are your students coming from to study at Ave Maria?
Yes, they're coming from all over the world. We're not a regional law school by any means. We're considered the most diverse student body in the United States, interestingly enough. We have students from overseas. We have students from nearly every state in the Union. We're only a small law school, but we are founded on the notion that we need to reinvigorate the natural law jurisprudence discourse. In areas of, like, for instance, environmental law, there's all kind of talk about not disrupting the natural laws of the ecosystem of this or that species. And yet, when it comes to the human ecosystem, we experiment without due caution or consideration. The precautionary principle, which is employed in these other areas, would say, if you're going to do some human investment in the Everglades, we want an impact study. We want to make sure. And we're going to basically issue a temporary restraining order until you prove to us that what you're doing isn't going to mess things up. But in the human ecosystem, we say, oh no, if you have some social experiment, go ahead and we'll see what happens. Do you people have conclusive proof that it won't mess things up? Well, nobody has. It's no, I don't have conclusive proof. I have reasonable doubt that it. So they basically the burden is shifted in the human ecosystem. You prove that there's going to be irreversible harm if we don't allow same-sex marriage, whereas in the animal world and the natural world, environmental studies. Wait a minute, you're going to mess with the status quo? You prove to us.
Right. And we're going to exhaust that.
Right, yes. So who has the burden of proof is key, and we cover that as well in jurisprudence. Who has the burden of proof?
I'm loving this. This is good stuff. But I want to get into more of these kind of cases of application, but share with us more about the Society for Catholic Social Scientists. So what's the origin of that? Where did it begin? Who began it? What's the mission of it? Who's involved with it?
Excellent question. I really feel sorry that Dr. Stephen Crazen and Dr. Joseph Vericali are not here. They're the co-founders of the Society of Catholic Social Scientists, and all respect is owing to them for their pioneering efforts. They saw the need for young scholars and well-established scholars and professionals in the area of Catholic social science to have a forum in which they could express their ideas and receive constructive criticism, not just dismissive criticism. Oh,
right.
Which is the nature of the secularized social scientists. And to give these scholars and professionals a network of others so that there could create this synergy, this a plausibility context. There's enough of us, we shouldn't stifle our voice. So often in academia and in the professions, you're hardly able to speak out loud your thoughts. You have to, well, here you could gather in conferences with an academic journal to publish your thoughts, an outlet for the research and writing of these academics. As you know, all of these big decisions that take place in social policy begin with expert advice. The Supreme Court cites their experts. Well, we wanted to create this body of experts that would inform the social dynamism of our culture and keep it on a correct path. So they started the Society of Catholic Social Scientists back in the early 1980s, about 1983 or 4.
Okay.
And I came on board a couple years later and was invited by them to join their board of directors. Our scholars are not just at Catholic institutions. We have Robert George at Princeton. We have Dean Ron Rishlack at Old Miss.
Interviewed him.
Yes, and although
he worked on Pope Pius XII.
He did the definitive work defending.
They were saying he didn't help the Jews,
right. There was that book that came out, Hitler's Pope, and Ron just demolished those arguments. In fact, I'm told that his work is considered the definitive defense of Pius XII against the smear of anti-Semitism, and is being used in the cause for the beatification of Pius XII.
Okay, so that's one way that this Society of Catholic Social Scientists, it's helpful for you all to gather periodically and to share thought, help one another, cross-examine one another in this friendly context. But so that in this case, this professor's work on Pius XII, so if he would write something, he would submit that to various people that are discussing Pope Pius's impact at the time of Nazi Germany and what was going on. So where would his papers go?
Well, they would be filed in scholars such as Ron Rishlack. Well, in fact, in our book series, I don't know which way to
hold it
right there. In our book series, he put out a wonderful anthology on law, American law from the perspective of Catholic social thought. He's the editor of it, and scholars from across the spectrum, or not across the spectrum so much as across the nation. And again, Robert George and others have signed on and give vision for law. This particular one is dealing with the economy. Oh, I'm sorry, history. We have one on the economy. My book was published on bioethics in law. So we give scholars this opportunity. We have an annual publication, the Society of Catholic Social Scientists Catholic Social Science Review. These are where smaller pieces, chapter-length articles are presented. They go from natural law to, well, the social scientists in sciences include economics. It actually includes bioethics, which includes medicine, which includes psychology. Social science is not limited to mere sociology, as some people might think on first blush if they're not familiar.
It takes in government, policies,
politics, law, psychology. Paul Witt has been one of our contributors again and again. Joseph Nicolosi with reparative therapy has also contributed in the psychology, in the field of psychology. So, and then we put out this 3-volume encyclopedia on Catholic social thought. This goes from A to Z, and a supplemental 3rd volume. It includes key figures, spearhead individuals, whether from Aristotle to the more modern authors. It includes topics. Topics from here, abortion to justice, and more detailed topics as well. A colleague of mine was the editor of this, Richard Myers, who teaches at Ave Maria School of Law as well. So these are 3 publications that we are proud to put out.
Brian, let's just pause right there. We have to take a break. Speaking with Brian Scarnecchia from Ave Maria University, and he's also with the Society of Catholic Social Scientists. We're looking at the social sciences from an Orthodox Catholic perspective and what we've contributed over 2,000 years to these various areas. We want to hear from you. So join the conversation. What impact does this have, this academic kind of study? How does it touch down in our own personal lives, in our marriages, in our families, with our children, in government? We'll be right back. There's plenty more to come. Don't go away.
Welcome back. Well, remember that we want you to be a part of our show. So if you're at home and you're listening and you're saying, I want to ask this guy a question, we would love for you to call in at 1-800-221-9460, and you can ask Brian any question you care to. If you're calling and you're outside North America, you can reach us at area code 205-271-2980. You can always send us an email, jimandjoy@ewtn.com, and hopefully we'll use your question or your comment right here on the air.
Well, that was quite an invitation. Any question you have,
and just,
Brian Scarnecchia
can
answer it, but you can ask the question. It's CatholicSocialScientists.org. Well, 2 things we're told we shouldn't speak about, and that's religion and politics. So let's speak about religion and politics.
That's all
and
we
its
talk
impact
about.
upon religion, politics, and its impact upon the young.
Very good. So often the young become a Trojan horse. People, people speak for women. Who are these people? So often people speak for young people. The youth want this. The youth. Wait a minute. There was an organization that started in New York City at a United Nations conference. They were talking about youth, and this one woman said, I'm young, I'm part of the youth. I don't want contraceptives. I don't want reproductive rights. I want to see real health care for women. I want to see my values affirmed, and went on to start an organization that furthers those goals in the name of young people. So what I've found, and one of the things that the Society of Catholic Social Scientists has done is become accredited with the United Nations and with its adjacent organizations as well, the Human Rights Council.
You're like an NGO with them?
We're an NGO.
Non-governmental organization.
Non-governmental organization. And for the past over 10 years now, I've brought over 400 young college graduate students to the United Nations,
Really?
where they participate as
Wow.
NGO representatives of the
Wow.
United Nations at the Conference on the Status of Women, on Population and Development, before the Human Rights Council in Geneva, and before some of the, also taking them to Rome and visiting the dicasteries and seeing how the Church's Secretariat of State, Second Division for States, operates in these international venue.
You're a dangerous guy. You're multiplying the Catholic view. You're dangerous. How exciting is that? Not only are you all thinking and publishing and submitting, but you're really making disciples. You're raising up another generation.
It's what the Secretary of State for the Holy See said at a conference in 2007. He said, well, the Church is interested in a new generation of leadership. And when we met Pope Benedict at the time, because of my involvement bringing the youth to these venues, I got to be in the front row, and out of the 80 or 70 some Catholic social scientist organizations that were there, or NGOs, I was the first one up. Because, and later they said it was because of the work with the young, the next generation of leadership. These young people, when they've gone to these venues, have made significant impact. But before I mention some of that, I would just like to say what I saw was really significant was the change that came over in their lives. All of a sudden, they went from being a journalist for this college newspaper to interviewing for a podcast the head of International Planned Parenthood Federation.
There you go.
The ambassador from Zimbabwe.
Right.
Wow.
And they're waltzing around in in this international debut, and they come back. I could see myself doing this, and lights go on. Well, one of the major impacts that we had, I'd like to compare it to like what happens in soccer, an assist, right? We didn't exactly kick it into the goal, but we helped to set up that kick. It was at the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities in 2005, 2006, and this was on the heels of the Terry Schiavo debacle in American law. And so we wanted to see food and water introduced as a basic right of persons with disabilities.
It's ordinary care.
Ordinary care. And John Paul II had just issued his address to the Neurological Society saying it's basic care.
Right.
It wasn't well disseminated yet, but those that were in tune knew. And so I had brought a group of students with me to the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, and I had run into Terry Schiavo's brother, Bobby, at I think it was at the March for Life at the Dublin. That's right. It was everybody. And I asked to bring Bobby on board to make an intervention on behalf of the Society of Catholic Social Scientists. And the United States delegation was friendly to it, but said, you know, the EU has poisoned the well. They have already cast this whole discussion on food and water for persons with disabilities as a first world issue. In fact, it's a United States issue. In fact, it's one woman's issue in the United States.
Lord have mercy.
So she said to me, the chief delegate from the American delegation, if you bring Bobby here, it's just going to confirm that misimpression that's been fed to them. They've poisoned the well so badly. So I said, well, I have this woman, a young woman here from Franciscan University, and she has a disability. It's a crippling disease, and she's doing fine. But if she made an intervention, do you think that would be okay? Yeah, that'd be all right. So I go up to this young woman and I said, how would you like to address the United Nations?
Wow.
And she said, okay, how long do I have? 5, 10 minutes? Sure. So in 5 or 10 minutes, she made an address.
Oh my gosh.
I gave her a little cues. This is your formal introduction. This is your conclusion. You put in the body. Here's some things. She wove it in, spoke about how she had a disability, that that food and water should be a basic requirement for persons with disabilities. And when she was done, there was kind of like a hush. Now, we for 2 sessions had tried to get food and water, nutrition and hydration introduced. And the chairman of that commission said, "Oh, that sounds like NGO language." All right, we'll change it to food and water. We had 15, 16 delegations saying, yes, we want to see that included. Normally, if you get 5 or 6, it's automatically included in the language that gets parsed up there on the screen. We had 15, and they were just stonewalling us. And the Disability Caucus in the back of the room really hadn't embraced this language. Largely, largely because the pro-life advocates had been sort of marginalized and presented as not representative of the disability community's vision, but of their own pro-life issues. But when this young woman spoke as a person with a disability, I saw them. They came, women from the Disabilities Caucus and others came and just put their arm around it. You've convinced us. And then they got on board. And then the chairman of the commission couldn't just sit there and stonewall us anymore. In fact, I heard him say, "I see there's consensus forming in the room."
Wow.
I mean, it was the Holy See that really made the play and got the language in there, finally.
And you think about the eternal Word made flesh, the natural law, divine revelation made flesh in a person.
Right.
It's different than reading it and debating it, and so all of a sudden the face is there. She's it.
Right.
Wow, powerful. Let's take this email.
Okay, it says, many Catholic institutions are being pressured by outside secular forces. Catholic hospitals are pressured to perform abortions. If the Church wants to be in the adoption business, there are those that say they must allow adoption by gay couples. How do we withstand these secular forces and remain true to our Catholic faith? And this is Kelly from Ogden, Utah.
Good question.
Well, thank you, Kelly. That's a wonderful question. And I guess if we're talking about winning in the courts, if we dare stand true to our insistence that sexual complementarity is essential, and that being incarnate and visible to a child in mom and dad, not mom and mom, not dad and dad, but mother and father.
We complete each other, complementarity, we're a fit.
That's right. We complete, we are...
Rocky says like a cuff and a link.
Like a cuff.
Yeah.
Or Forrest Gump, peas and carrots. That notion of complementarity is absolutely disparaged in law and in both domestic litigation and at the United Nations.
And so clear and obvious.
And to the extent now that the United States Supreme Court has argued that same-sex marriage is on a par with heterosexual marriage, it's going to be hard courts are going to interpret that as requiring equal treatment regarding adoption. And those institutions that fail to provide equal opportunities for same-sex couples to adopt are going to be seen as bigoted. Now, if you think about the race question, you might have your own sincerely held, perhaps religious convictions that one race is superior to another, but we're not going to tolerate that in law. You can go ahead and think what you want, but you basically can think it in the closet because we're not going to tolerate it in the public space. And that's what the Supreme Court justices said in their dissent in Obergefell. They said, this is going to work itself out. You might give a little window dressing in your majority opinion to the idea that this will not impact religious liberty, but let's face it, if it's considered rank bigotry, we're not going to long tolerate it. So to answer this good question, I think what Catholic institutions have to do is be faithful, like Mother Teresa said. Whether they ultimately prove successful, we go down firing. And leave the fight to God at some point. You just remain true. Is there a sneaky strategy that could be worked out? I am sure, daily that we will try our best to create the legal stratagems to circumvent the crush of this very strong opinion from the Supreme Court.
Well, we run a pregnancy medical center, and I've been contacted by agencies that do adoption, but they also want to do them for same-sex And so, you know, the woman was very kind and gracious to me, and, you know, I believe just like you do, Joy, and, you know, we're for life, and we went on and on with the conversation, and finally I had to say, well, I cannot participate in this because my obligation is what's best for the child. And what's best for the child is to be raised by a man and a woman. Ultimately, it's mother and father who procreated it, but if that can't happen, another plan of a mother and a father who want this child, if the mother is considering to abort the baby, and we come up with a great adoption plan. So it's out there, and you have to confront it, but it is a thing. I have to stay true. I mean, I'm going down with that. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
We stay true, reasonably and in the teaching. And then on our own community, the Catholic community in particular, we become fruitful and we multiply and we fill the world and we subdue it, because that's God's plan to transform the world. The Muslims understand that. Right? So they're multiplying. We need to multiply, and we try to interject ourselves into the law and do everything else. But meanwhile, there's no law at this time. They might come up with a one-child policy or whatever we're going to do. But, you know, we just need to be fruitful and share the wonder and the beauty of life, and you know, not that we get married simply to populate, but that is a key reason of it. And we're a republic, democratic society, and we have people coming over from another worldview that are saying, you know, we're not going to have to shoot a shot to overtake America. We're going to be multiplying, and we're going to vote the way we're going to vote. We're going to take over this country because you don't multiply, Catholics as well as Protestants.
There's a couple of things that just went off in my mind as you were speaking. First, I'd like to mention, like, you know, the encyclicals say complementarity, mother and father are necessary, but the Pope is speaking, and these encyclicals are drawing on the rich tradition of natural law and sort of a philosophical and theological perspective, a correct one. But then our contemporaries say, where's the proof? And so the sociologists have to step up with, you know, they have to come up with evidence. And so Father Paul Sullins from the Society of Catholic Social Scientists has done the most definitive study, a sociological study of the impact of same-sex parenting, showing it is not equivalent, and in fact it is inferior and harmful. Now that confirms, and of course the other side says, oh, but we have our studies. Yeah, but your studies are not as rich, are not as replete with evidence. Ours is stronger. No, so it's a battle of the experts. And again, when you have a battle of the experts, then law should do for the human environment what it does for the animal kingdom. If this could seriously threaten this environment, and there's reasonable minds think one way and reasonable minds think the other way, we say, whoa, no intervention. But that's not what the courts have done. Then I think there was another point you were making, Jim, that I wanted to touch on too, but I forgot what it was.
Probably about being fruitful and multiplying, maybe.
I think that was
I wish you would have remembered, because it's rare that I make really good points.
Well, here's the point. I know what it is now. So we have lots of children, and you know, 6, and at Franciscan University, it's not uncommon to find people with 9 or 10, and same at Ave Maria School of Law, and there's other, you know, strong Catholic environments and Christian environments that encourage. But here's the thing. So you have your children, but when they enter into that toxic environment, and homosexuality is presented as normative, and transgender ideology is encouraging tomboys to identify as male, and before their brains are fully mature to change their physiology in such a way that it may be irreversible, either through chemical or surgical sex change operations, our children are scandalized. And you can see that the studies show, Pew research, which is a reputable one, shows that the younger, under 30 years of age, are much more accepting of same-sex ideology than our generation. So the toxic environment, so you have children, but then the toxic environment steals them, begins to affect their thinking. So we can't just, we just can't have the children. We have to also be out there engaging with the culture.
Right.
And we're not saying we have to form them, do you? Or help form them? Okay.
Well, of course we need to form them, and we need to...
It's called brainwashing. We're washing their brains with the blood of Jesus Christ and the teaching of the church.
Amen.
Brian Scarnecchia is our guest here, Society of Catholic Social Scientists. It's CatholicSocialScientists.org. Hope you're enjoying the conversation at least as much as we are. We'll be right back. Plenty more to come. Please don't go away.
Welcome back. Well, you're an important part of our EWTN family, and we would love for you to join us live right here on At Home and be a member of our studio audience. So as we're rolling into the new year, you might be thinking, I would like to put a pilgrimage on my wish list to do in 2018. Well, we would love to have you. All you need to do is contact the EWTN Pilgrimage Department, send them an email, pilgrimages@ewtn.com, or you can just give them a jingle at 205-271-2966. Come to Irondale, Alabama. You could always go to Hanceville, which is about 50, 60 miles away from here, to the shrine to visit Mother Angelica in her resting place. Well, right now we're going to go straight to Rome to hear from Joan. Joan, what do you have for us today?
Well, greetings from Rome to everyone at home. And as you might recall, last Wednesday at the end of the general audience, the Holy Father made an appeal for wisdom and prudence in the case of Jerusalem. He was anticipating U.S. President Trump's announcement later that day in the United States that the U.S. recognizes Jerusalem as the capital of Israel and that it will eventually move its embassy from Tel Aviv to that city. Now, days later, of course, recently the Holy See released another statement actually renewing that appeal by the Holy Father. And that statement said, "The Holy See follows with great attention the developments of the situation in the Middle East, especially regarding the city of Jerusalem, a sacred place for Christians, Jews, and Muslims from around the world." In expressing his sorrow for the clashes in recent days that have produced victims, the Holy Father renews his appeal for wisdom and prudence by everyone, and he raises fervent prayers that the leaders of the nations in this time of special gravity commit themselves to avoiding a new spiral of violence, responding with words and deeds to the appeals for peace, security, and justice by the populations of the martyred area. And now, to change subjects completely, a look at this week's general audience. That was yesterday, of course. The Pope continued his catechesis on the Eucharist with really beautiful words on why we should go to Mass, have to go to Mass on Sunday. He said, as the day of the resurrection and the Pentecostal outpouring of the Holy Spirit, Sunday is the Christian holy day par excellence. But, he said, sadly, in many secularized societies, the sense of Sunday is being lost. It should be a day of joy, and it should be a day of rest from work, precisely because we are children of God. In the end, said the Pope, we go to Mass not to give something to God, but to receive something from Him, the grace and strength to be faithful to His Word, follow His commandments, and through His living presence in us, to be witnesses of His goodness and love before the world. So really an extraordinary catechesis. Kind of makes you want to go to Mass really every day, not just on Sundays. But time's up here, so back to you at home.
Joan, thank you so much for the update in so many areas. May indeed we honor the Sabbath and keep it holy. Brian, you've got about 3 minutes left, and I don't want to take up your time. So what's on your heart, what's on your mind just regarding our society, our culture, whatever you want to share about?
Well, I think we were talking about what we can do to save or create a generation that's in favor of life and a new generation of leadership for the church. And we see that culture is so toxic. I think it's just, I'd like to, put a word out there for parents that do their very best, and yet, life happens, and sometimes their children just aren't the sterling example they'd hoped for. But I think it's important to remember, you know, for instance, my wife and I, Victoria, we went to the Philippines in about the year 2000, and we spoke on homeschooling. Actually, we were there in 1996 with Human Life International and spoke on homeschooling, and they looked at us, why do you homeschool? There's such good Catholic institutions, you should be. And we go, well, because a lot of those good Catholic institutions began sex education, and then pretty soon we had to try to find a safe harbor for our children. When we went back in 2008, there was a big homeschool movement in the Philippines because already they were experiencing that same kind of meltdown. So as children are scandalized more and more in the public school system, and maybe even so in Catholic schools because they can't hardly keep out that same-sex courting, and I talked to a school bus driver at a public school. He said, yeah, these two young ladies were out there hugging and kissing in front of the school bus, and I said, wow, times sure have changed. And then he was brought before the principal. And he says, all I meant was that when I was in school, we couldn't hug or kiss anybody. It didn't matter what sex they were, you just couldn't do it. And they go, well, you don't know what I was thinking. That's what I was thinking. He's, you know, and he managed to. So what I'd like to say is, in this environment, this toxic environment, that parents should, I don't know, something like, you know, to be faithful again, whether they're successful in each and every case. Think about Dorothy Day. You know, she followed the God's call, but it seemed as if her daughter, you know, eventually rejected the faith. Was Dorothy Day not effective? Was she a failure? Some people might hold that against her, but I think in the movements like Al-Anon and elsewhere, it's like, you know, everybody has free will. You do your best, and if one or two of your children are, you know, are struggling, they're struggling, and it doesn't necessarily have to reflect on a bad parenting. You know, it's people have free will.
I don't like free will as a parent. I didn't like it. I would like, why are they disobeying? You know, because you want them to obey. Because we learned, as we fell madly in love with Jesus, that we obeyed him because we just simply loved him. And we would never do anything to hurt his heart. And so you want your children to do that too. And I think as they grow and they get older, they learn that too. But all of us, we're all working out our faith and our journey to love God with all of our heart, soul, mind, and strength, and to love our neighbor as ourselves and work that out.
We're going to have to stop right there. Brian, it's been wonderful to have you here. We could have shared on and on and on. Thank you so much for your great work. It's the
Jim and Joy,
Catholic Social Society of Catholic Social Scientists, Brian Scarnecchia, Ave Maria. We're a family. We're all together in this, and Christ will prevail. Keep it on EWTN. Bye now.